Yahoo Finance's Emily McCormick, who has been walking through the financials for us on Airbnb. And Emily, we've been so focused on the share price here, but of course, it's important to take a step back and look at the journey of this company. Started in 2007, or actually really launched in 2008 at the height of the financial crisis. It was just about two friends looking to make an extra buck. Now they've got 4 million hosts globally.
That's right, Aikiko. And just taking a look at this company, really had been growing strongly leading up to the pandemic. We saw revenue growth of more than 30% actually for fiscal 2019. So really heading into 2020 on strong footing here until we saw the pandemic really hit travel demand and Airbnb's business overall. Now we saw in the first 9 months of this year that Airbnb's revenue was actually down about 32%. And we also saw its net losses widen and actually about double from the previous 9 months of 2019. So again, seeing a bit of struggles here for the company in the early goings of this year. Also want to note that it really has been an incredible journey just in the past couple of months leading up to its IPO. We had the company actually lay off about 25% of its workforce. It tapped into debt financing actually twice in the spring this year. And just looking at where this valuation arc has really been over the past year and past couple years has now begun to creep much higher. Just taking a look at the IPO, the share price indication at $153 per share, that suggests that the company will actually open with a market capitalization of more than $100 billion. When earlier this year in the spring, we'd seen it with a private valuation of about $18 billion. And back in 2017, before the coronavirus pandemic, with a valuation of about $31 billion. So again, really an incredible journey here for Airbnb. It did price its IPO at $68 a share yesterday, looking like it could open at more than double that level.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to think, and it's always hard too. I think that's what a lot of investors have struggled with here in comparing apples to oranges, since we're kind of looking at the growth numbers for a travel company through the pandemic. So it's a little hard to kind of try and see what this recovery on the other side is going to look like. But I mean, Emily, just using the comparison to DoorDash as you're kind of looking back to what happened yesterday, since that's the most recent comp, that was a 78% pump in terms of the opening trade here. We're potentially going to see, at least it looks like we're going to see more than double here for the Airbnb valuation at the opening trade. I mean, what does that say to you maybe about the excitement or investment demand here for some of these tech companies, which are offering higher growth at a period of time when we are having interest rates at near zero? I mean, I guess that's just kind of where the money goes to if you're looking for growth and future opportunity.
That's right, Zach. And I mean, just broadening even beyond Airbnb and DoorDash, we really have seen just an incredible record-setting year for newly public companies as a whole. I mean, we had the Renaissance IPO exchange-traded fund more than doubling so far for the year to date. We've seen U.S. IPOs actually raise a record amount of money in those initial public offerings this year, that coming in at more than $160 billion when we include the funds that were raised between Airbnb, DoorDash, as well as C3AI, which we should note yesterday actually also had its trading debut and more than doubled in its initial trade as well in its first day of trading. So again, just a ton of demand here for equities, a ton of demand for these newly public companies, really piling into here this potential future growth opportunity. And when we think about Airbnb specifically, if it had been a public company already this year, it almost certainly would have been categorized in that reopening trade group of stocks like cruise lines, airlines that have really gotten a boost here in the last month, especially once we got that vaccine news out of Pfizer and out of Moderna. That all really fueling hopes here of a broader economic reopening. And that's something that's really going to help Airbnb's business as well.
Yeah, it's been interesting that Airbnb has sort of been able to play both sides. On the one hand, it is a travel stock, to your point, because they've really seen their growth on the back of that. But at the same time, during this pandemic, they have become the platform that a lot of us have turned to try and just change our environment. Our work from anywhere trade is, I guess, unique in that way, too. So again, to Emily's point, $155 is the indication there. We're going to continue to watch that.